Hi, this is Llyn Hunter, Llynhunter, and today we're going to do a traditional pen and ink drawing of a koala. I'm doing a series of endangered animals, and today I have actually got this photograph you see in front of you is over 80 years old. So we're out of copyright. It was produced before 1978. So the book is out of copyright. The photograph is out of copyright. So I can show it on YouTube, and it's okay to use as a reference material. So I can show you how we draw using reference material. What we're going to talk about first, though, is some materials. I've got some Higgins pen cleaner here. I'm going to show you really fast how I clean my traditional pen. The pen that we're going to be using today, this is a Crow Quill number 102. And I've got an X-Acto knife with an X-Acto knife holder. And I'm using a Pilot .5 mechanical pencil for our pencil drawing. I'll be using a kneaded eraser. And again, I always talk about kneaded erasers because I was not aware of kneaded erasers. When I first started out, I was like not aware about kneaded erasers until I was way into the late high school. Because they're not, if little kids get a hold of these, they're like silly putty and it'll get into your hair and get into the carpet and things like that. So they don't usually sell them to kids. And so you won't find them except in the stationery store near the art supplies or in a place like Michael's, again, near the pencils. But you can find them at those places, and you can get them online, and it's kneaded as KNEADED, like kneaded in bread dough. And then we've got, again, a white latex or white plastic eraser. Okay, and the last thing is some D-letter number 4 ink. Personally, this is currently my favorite ink to use. There are a lot of different inks out there on the market, but I do like the D-letter. It's a Japanese ink. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it from Blick. You can get it from Jet Pens, I believe. But it is a very nice thick black ink because I'm going to be painting over this drawing we're doing today in watercolor, and I want a waterproof ink, and this is definitely a waterproof ink. So the number 4 you can paint over with watercolor. So we're going to start out today by finishing off cleaning my pen. Sometimes when you've gotten done with pen and ink, if you don't clean up your pen right away, you'll get this black carbon residue over the top of it. And there are a couple of ways you can get rid of that. One way is, this is Higgins. Basically, it's a pen cleaner. You can use it for a lot of different kinds of pens, but it's your standard pen cleaner. It says immerse articles 30 minutes to 8 hours, depending on the condition. This is usually used for fountain pens, but you can use it for regular dip pens too, and just, put some of that on top of your pen, and just, it'll dissolve a lot of the ink. Now there's still some, it's difficult to see because the video camera is really not going to focus on this. But what I will do, if you've ever heard of a pen knife, the reason why people had pen knives is to clean out their pens. This is stainless steel, so it won't hurt the pen any, or at least I've done this many times to a lot of pens. I mean, other people may say don't do this, but this is one of the way I clean out the excess residue in my pen as well, is you just take an X-Acto knife and you kind of just scrape out the carbon, because that's basically what you've got. You've got charcoal or carbon on the steel, and you just scrape out the excess. I'll scrape off the top of it too, and that'll clear out your well, and then I'll wipe that off. So that's two ways. If you've got a pen that's gunked up, I would get some pen cleaner. Like I said, if you just go pen cleaner in any art supply online, or go to an art supply store where they have pen and ink, and they should have pen cleaner there. And keep it around for, because India ink dries fast. So you will find that if you're working in pen and ink, a lot of times the ink that comes in these bottles will be a little bit thick. So I will often add distilled water to them, just a little bit. When I say add distilled, I mean, it's just, it takes some getting used to, but it's like put a little in, and as long as it's still black, it will dry fine. But I think it flows better sometimes when you add a little bit of ink, or if you've had a bottle of ink that you've been using for a while, adding water to the ink sometimes will, it will have lost both the formaldehyde. Usually it's formaldehyde is one of the other things that's in the ink, and the water will evaporate, and then you'll get your ink drying too fast on you. So a little bit of water will often help that. Now, I personally, I stir up my ink when I open it. There are people who don't like that, but I will literally, I'll use the back end of my pen, and I will just stir it up with the back end of my pen. Wipe that off, put that on my paper towel, and then pull it off my paper towel. And it's like, hey, it's a natural stir. It works. But those are a couple of cleaning tips to begin with. I'm using a pen that I haven't used in a while. Okay, today we're gonna do a koala, and I'm gonna show you the basic way that I draw. And not everybody draws the same. Not everybody approaches drawing the same way. But what we're going to do is I'm eyeballing about a 1/4 inch around. This is a piece of Arches 150 pound or 300 gram hot press watercolor paper, because I am going to paint this drawing later. So I wanted it on a thick piece of watercolor paper. Bristol will often work too, but I like to use watercolor paper because it's got size in it, and it will help keep the paper from buckling when you get to the final piece. And smooth, or basically what's known as hot press paper, will have a relatively smooth surface to it, and it's perfect for doing pen and ink work on. Okay, so we've got an area in here. The reason why I use the pencil to outline this is because I'm possibly going to be taping this down with Scotch Magic tape. So with the Scotch Magic tape, you'll want to pull it off, and you want to make sure that your image is staying within this area. Okay, so I'm using, again, this is a 0.5 mechanical pencil, and I'm going to basically, what I first do is do a rough idea of where I want to place things. So I'm doing a really general feeling of blocking in the shapes. It's like the koala is going to be here, and you'll notice this kind of looks very squiggly. Okay, that head's a little bit big. Take it down. Let's see here. Getting the mass, and what I'm doing is I'm sizing up masses, and I'm comparing while I'm putting this stuff down. I'm thinking, okay, here's the leg, here's where the paw goes on to the branch, here's the arm, the elbow's about there, the stomach is here, there's a curve in the back that goes around here. So I'm feeling out the shapes, and they're not quite in proportion yet. The head is not, see, the head I put a little bit too far to the left, so I want to pull it over a little bit more to the right. And you'll notice I pull down the character. I'm putting him more towards the bottom of the page here, because I want more of a balance on this this particular situation here. Just a second here. With the ear over here. And again, it's like I'm looking at the body and the head. And if you look at the head is almost, it's like I would say 1/3 of the size of the body. So The body here looks like it needs to be a little bit bigger. The legs in here, and hand is about up there. So you can say it's just a bunch of scribbles at the moment. And the branch I want up here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and I'm going to basically almost erase everything that I've put down here. And this is what I personally call ghosting back. So I can barely see what I've already drawn. And what that does is it's given me an idea of where I've put placement on the drawing at the present. So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to start finding approximately where everything is a little bit more specifically. Like here, the finger goes out this way. And now I'm looking at shapes and anatomy. And with animals, animals have a similar anatomy to humans. It's like, okay, he's got an elbow that's right about here. So I'm looking in relationship of this hand to the length of this arm and the elbow. Sets up a triangle here and it goes back. And I know that this little guy is going to have a shoulder blade in here somewhere, but a koala's shoulder blade might not be as prominent as, say, a monkey or a human's. So it's like you can tell it's a combination of look at this edge here. You've got a really nice bright edge and you've got darkness here. And that sets up for, okay, I've got to know where that edge is. And then it comes to an arc. And you think about, okay, here's the arc of the back there. And its stomach, the elbow is here. And then the other arm is coming here and his stomach is like right below the elbow. So I'm seeing here's an elbow, here's where the stomach is, here's where the branch is. So I'm thinking, okay, there's elbows right about here, here's the stomach, and the branch is going to go in here. And then the foot is somewhere down around here. And I'm still, you can see, I'm keeping everything very loose, and I'm thinking in terms of ish. It's about here. It's like I'm looking at, okay, here's where his stomach comes in. And you can feel the stomach. I'm feeling that shape around here to think of the volume. So while I'm thinking of this 2D space here, and I've got all these markers because I'm looking at a photograph and I'm doing this particular drawing from this photograph. And I'm thinking, okay, he's got a foot here, he's got a toe here, he's got another toe here. And my big problem right now is I can't remember whether koalas have two toes that grasp on the inside, I believe. I know the chameleons do. I don't know about koalas. And he's sitting on a branch. There's another branch out here. He's kind of sitting in between branches. So I'm going to throw that other branch out here. And notice there's an interesting negative shape here. There's a shape that's almost like a triangle there, where his heel or his heel sticks out just a bit. And then it comes in. And this shape is almost like an S. I'm going to erase that back because I've been doing line over line and I don't like it. So I'm going to erase it and come back here and do that. And then take this up. And this stick really comes in more like this. Now, I'm not trying to be exact. It's like I'm using the photograph as my reference. I'm trying to get it somewhat right. But if it doesn't look right in my final drawing, I don't have to try to be exactly like the photograph. I'm just using that as an adjustment to figure out where I want to put things. I mean, if I wanted to, I could not even put that back branch that he's sitting on because it looks like he's able to grasp that without sitting there. Okay, so I'm looking at the hand again. It's up there. Now, the head. He's got a bit of trying to get the head's proportion in more, because it's really this particular part of his head It's a little bit, keep on wanting to make it bigger. And that's the thing, is at this stage, what you're trying to get is more of the proportions down. So I'm comparing between like positive and negative spaces here and here. I'm comparing this size of his head to this size of his body, to where this arm is and what the shape is in here. And I'm going back and forth with my eyes all the time, checking out what's the distance between, you know, what is this shape here? There's kind of like a rectangle here. So it's like he's got his arm here, and this fur actually comes out here. And where it comes up to the ear, you can see this is almost a squarish or a trapezius type shape here. And the thing is that while you're doing that, you realize some things about anatomy. With his nose being here, we'll put in an approximation of where the eye goes, and you know that his jaw is going to be coming down there. So while you're thinking about this, you know that this is a mammal, and most mammals have comparative anatomy to humans. And so marsupials have 2 arms and 2 legs, just like a human does. And they have kind of like hands, like a human does. And their anatomy, you know, so it's like if you learn human anatomy, it's pretty comparable to most mammals. They'll have, like I said, 4 legs, 1 head, 1 tail. And it's like that's pretty, you know, the common things that you have, they have. So you can think about whatever you're doing with your body, you can think for yours. Now, I got a little bit out of my 1/4 inch here, but that's a generalization. What I can do is I can pull my border a little bit further out for how far I want. I pushed him a little bit over when I started, but I've still got some space there, so I'm happy with that. I don't have to go much further than that. And he's going to have his hair going out here, and I want to make sure that those eyes are approximately in the right place. And they have a little bit of an interesting shape because this is going over to the side there, and they have that very, very strange nose. And if you're doing say something like this where you're doing it from, I'm just using 1 photo at the moment, but it's good to have several photos around if you're doing an animal that you want to have correctly. It's like I said, I can't see what that extra toe is there because it's in the shadow. And with this black and white photograph, it's a little bit difficult to see where that shadow is. And once I get to the painting stage, I'm definitely going to get myself some color reference to look at as well. I wanted to show you this today so that you can see some of the techniques that I'm using to use a photograph and see how I'm this shape here in relevance to where the eye is and the nose, and you want to measure like this distance from here to here and this distance from here to here and this shape, and think about like the nose and the bottom of the mouth. How much of that mass is part of the head? Because this goes down probably a little bit more, and that head goes up there. The eye probably goes a little bit further out that way. So I'm going to erase that. And I'm going to pull his eye just a bit further out that way. And again, this is your pencil drawing, so can be a little bit, things can be off because this is it's not the end of your drawing. This is the underdrawing of your drawing. So you're trying to just get your proportions on, and you're trying to get your placement of where you're going to put things. Now he's got a hand that's going behind here. So you know, at this stage of the game, if you want to, you can draw through that branch there, and he's got his little hand is up here. You can see it right here. It's kind of dark in that triangular portion, of this branch right here. He's kind of hanging on there, where there's a little branch sticking up there. And I'll give it a little more of a branch there, so that you feel like he's hanging on a little bit better there. There we go. And koalas have very big claws. It's like, I think the folks that handle them in the zoo usually have like leather gloves on, because, you know, they're very strong little animals and they have very long claws. Very slow. And I'm going to do a little bit of indication of the type of bark here. Now notice, I am not caring whether I'm doing the exact pattern of the bark that's on there. I'm using a similar pattern. I'm familiar. He's on a eucalyptus tree, and I live in Southern California, so I know pretty well how eucalyptus bark works. So I know it looks like puzzle pieces. So I'm going to fake that a little bit, and then I'm going to put, I know koala, now you can't see it here. This is more of a rounded leaf, but you can't see the details as well on the leaves. But I know for a fact what eucalyptus leaves look like too. So I'm going to put in some leaves here. And like I said, I'm just kind of indicating them. And a leaf shape is basically two flattened C's put together. And or two lines that look like flattened C's put together, or S curves. And I'm just putting them randomly to give a little bit of balance, because he's going to be heavy over here, but you want to pull your eye over here as well. And you've got this diagonal coming down here, and you've got this big mass here. So the thing is that this is your weight of your image is here. So if you have a little bit of negative space up here, and a little bit of interest over here, and some interest over here, that'll pull things to that side of the composition. Okay, so that's our underdrawing. And you can tell it's pretty dang sketchy. I might come in if while we're drawing in pen and ink, if I don't have something well defined enough to give me the information that I need while I'm doing the pen and ink, I'll come in back with that while I'm drawing. So I'll keep my pencil handy, but the next thing I'm